Countdown. Good morning. Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show with your host, Willie Bragg. And I want to discuss an issue that I revisit quite a bit on this show, and that is censorship, something that offends me a great deal. And so it came to my attention, two people that I'm not particularly a big fan of on the online left, and that includes Doel, and that includes Nomiki Konst. They did a video called "YouTube is Killing Us." So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it, and it's a few minutes. So what I am going to do is I'm going to put it on speed, but on a high speed, so y'all can hear it, and I will share a few words right afterwards. Hold tight.
Yeah, the right is really good at attaching themselves to certain cultural issues that are really easy, and I mean, you can get people. I mean, I was watching, so I covered a clip of Tucker Carlson. He was discussing his new angle now on COVID is that it's boring. It's, if your neighbor's talking about COVID, then you should move because they're really boring. And it's like, but it's like this is why he's successful, right? Because we're all tired of COVID. We hate talking about it. It sucks, but that doesn't mean pandemic's gone away. We still have to be conscious of it and be aware of what we are doing. But he's able to take these certain feelings that people have and then twist it into a narrative to serve his own narrative, and he gets people that way. And that's also why the right focuses so much on, I don't know, Big Bird or Mr. Potato Head or Dr. Seuss books, because it's really easy topics. There's almost no thinking involved. Of course, they misconstrue the actual facts behind it, but as long as it hits people on an emotional level, that's all that matters. At the same time, they're distracting away from actual, real economic issues. And I think that's where our strength is. If we are able to connect to people on a material level, like how we actually want to improve your lives, and also bring up how these cultural issues are distractions, and even sometimes you can say, some of them may be correct. Like maybe some people went overboard on certain comedians and are trying to, silence them or whatever. Like you can toss out a little crumb to kind of get people in, and then bring them into the real issues, which are the issues that are impacting their daily lives, be it systemic racism, be it low wages, whatever it is. So this is what, as you point out, this is what we have to do on the left as a way to reach out to new audiences. But that also gets to the issue with these platforms, and I think part of the reason why you're also on Rockfin, YouTube is completely suppressing independent media, especially on the left, when we're actually trying to serve real topics. I put out a tweet a week ago showing the Creator Monthly from YouTube. They send it out every month, like showing your new subscribers, views, all that. I had 2.2 million views for the month, which is fine. 0 subscribers. Zero
Me too.
subscribers.
We both got that. I saw it. It was like I go that is actually mathematically impossible.
No,
impossible.
it's impossible. Yeah. Now, to be clear, it's a net zero number, so there's some lost subs, some gained subs, but still 2.2. Like, it's unheard of in any other part of YouTube. Like tech reviews, makeup tutorials, like whatever, video games. You're never gonna see a million views and net zero subs. It's not possible. But it happens in indie left media because our videos are not being put out in front of new audiences. So we are trying to do this thing. We're reaching out to new people and trying to tell them what's going on. But if we're just talking to the same subscribers over and over again, then we're just going in circles, and there's no real progress there. So we have to be open to reaching out to different platforms. My Facebook, surprisingly, even though I have less followers on Facebook, a lot of my videos there do really well because even though Facebook largely serves the right, there is still it's still open in the sense that my content can get to new audiences, whereas on YouTube it's completely suppressed. It really is part of the major issue.
And we should be disrupting Facebook. I get so frustrated with Facebook, but we should be disrupting it because the more the left is like, I'm not using Facebook, the more the right is going to dominate, and their algorithms are very, very much driven towards the right. But it's about communities. It is actually built, unlike YouTube, which is different because it's an algorithm that drives things in a direction based on how they write the algorithm. But Facebook is about these little networks of communities. So you become more like the people in your network. I know when I open up Facebook, everyone I see is like, a Democratic Socialist, and that's all I see is just like DSA infighting all day long. I'm like, oh, and I get like really angry. I'm like, what? It's not like my aunt and my cousins and everything like that.
Yeah.
Which I mean, if I seek them out, I'm like, whoa, they live in an alternative world. I have to actually seek them out. But it's important to disrupt those narratives. I had an idea as you're just sitting here, and it's almost like a challenge to YouTube. I'm thinking what if we do some sort of, I've already been thinking about this a little bit, but I'm going to just brainstorm it out loud on your show. What if we did we found allies in our world, in left independent media, we all have YouTube channels, and we decided to have a telethon where all of us, appeared on at the same time, we all streamed the same thing. And I'm just curious because, of course, if none of us gain any audience after that, then that YouTube is up to something. Because it's just, they're making it sound like there's not enough people on the left. And that's just not true. I mean, even if it's not because it's an election year, even if all of these things might be their arguments, but the reality is like there has to be some growth. And I don't get, I mean, the last few months I've had the same thing, 0, but that's not even possible either. They should at least say negative or I mean, it's...
Yeah. I think if it, I mean, it probably was a negative, but they don't show the negative for whatever reason, so they just show 0. But this is also, so YouTube started this whole thing back in 2017 with what they began doing, and this is public. They started propping up what they call authoritative news sources. So they have pages like MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post. They have now connected their YouTube searches to the Google searches. So if you have like a big website like New York Times, that's going to prop up the YouTube page. That's also going to help, CNN, MSNBC, and that's why you see those channels propped up. But what this has done now is that it has encouraged grifting. It has actually made YouTube politics worse because the only way to get over that algorithm is to be a grifter, is to do shocking content, is to do stuff like anti-vax crap. That's what.
After all these years,
God, commercial.
going back to where it all started, back to the Matrix.
That's why we have seen now in the past year or so more of a move from some channels who I guess never had any principles to the right people like Jimmy Dore. Because this is now the only way they're able to serve up a new audience, is by being shocking, is by being ridiculous, is by being stupid. And so YouTube it's basically been self-defeating because they did this with the intention of limiting fake news, but they've actually increased it because the only way to get around their algorithm now is to do this kind of shocking content, this clickbait content that gets the eyeballs. It really is, they have to, there has to be a reason for them to want to reanalyze it. I mean, this is what I come back to is, does it serve them? Because ultimately, they don't care about this unless it serves them. So I think it does serve them if they realize that if they go back to actually lifting up content that wants to educate, that is positive, that wants to, improve the lives of people, that it would actually help them in the long run because then it would encourage that kind of educational content and lessen the amount of shocking clickbait content. But, I guess the issue then is getting that message actually to YouTube and having them change things, which at this point, I'm sure they're perfectly fine with CNN, Fox. It's crazy that Fox News is platformed over us. Like, that's absurd.
Or The Hill. I mean, The Hill is one of these, too. I mean, people say, like, well, the Rising show, it grew so fast. It was a partnership. It was a partnership, and it's a Republican who owns it, and I've been on The Hill, and, when Ryan's hosting now, and I respect Ryan, and, it's good that he's on that show. And it's not the same as before. I mean, there is a woman on there who's an absolute effing conspiracy theorist, Kim Iverson, who should not be on a legitimate channel. Like, I have to say that because, and that's not, and by the way, guys, that's not censorship. You know what censorship is? It comes from the state. Censorship is when you limit people's voices that like the left, right? She is saying things that are dangerous to society. We do not live in an absolute free speech environment. And what I love is the people who say that are always the ones who are defending the Nazis for saying horrible things, but they're not defending the protesters who are out in the streets, defending their communities, and being shot up by little white boys. That's what I would like to know. Free speech only when it's convenient to the people that, have the power.
And their argument is always, well, YouTube, like the new town square. The town square, you weren't talking to 300 million people. Like, that's, like that was on a local level. So, these platforms are not the town square. If you're a complete lunatic and you're negatively impacting society on a massive platform, no, you shouldn't have that platform. Not everyone should be gifted a platform like that. Now, if you earned it, we can have conversations about how far someone can take it. But if you're given a platform where that already exists, like The Hill, and you're put on there to spread conspiracy theories, I mean, it's so...
Or Spotify.
The incentive... Yeah, or Spotify. The incentive structure is it's so backwards because it really is all about who's going to get the clicks as opposed to looking at what is this person, how are they beneficial to society, if they're beneficial to society. That doesn't mean, silence everybody, but that just means have a level playing field where you are not propping up certain individuals, certain channels because of their connection to certain individuals or certain corporations. You have a level playing field, and these platforms have a terms of service. If you break that terms of service, then you get kicked off. I think that's perfectly fine. That makes perfect sense to me. These, again, as you point out, this is not censorship. You're allowed, if you want to spread your garbage, if you want to go to the actual town square in real life, then go to the actual town square and be anti-vax over there. But if you want to be anti-vax on YouTube or another large platform, and it breaks their terms of service, then I'm sorry, you should go. Like, it's as simple as that.
And they're being boosted. Let's be even clearer. Like you said, level playing field, and that's really important. It's not that they're on the same playing field as we are. This is like a billionaire saying, like, when we want to tax them, like, you're limiting my free speech, and like we all, no, you don't have the same. You've been rewarded. You've been rewarded with this opportunity, and you're taking advantage of it. Joe Rogan was rewarded the largest podcast contract, and he's being irresponsible. And it is Spotify's duty, editorial duty, to have some sort of oversight, just like it's the New York Times or the Nation or any duty to fact check things. Remember when Rolling Stone didn't fact check something, and it was 10 years ago? That was the biggest story of the year. Was that? Fact checkers exist for a reason, and they're in moments like this in particular. I actually do think that the platforms, the corporations are really partnering up because they know. They know what's out there. They know the impact it has. And with all of this insanity, with Joe Rogan peddling conspiracy theories, with Fox News having the largest audience, with the Red Brown alliances, with all of that, and the fact that they've taken over the legislatures and the courts, and possibly the Senate and Congress, I do want to recognize one thing. With all of these things, it's still amazing to me that most Americans, numerically, like actual percentage-wise, most Americans are vaccinated, are on their way to getting their booster, believe in climate change, support Roe v. Wade, and understand that the fundamental rights that we're all fighting for are popular. So they are throwing everything against it, but at the end of the day, most Americans are not buying it.
Yeah. And that gives me hope to see, even in the face of all that propaganda, people are still in a majority on the correct side of these issues. And, also you can add the economic issues in there, like healthcare, equal rights. People support these things. And it's just all the propaganda fighting against it.
Okay, enough of that. And I apologize for the long video. It's like 12 minutes and like 12 and a half minutes, but I put it on a high enough speed so everybody can get the gist of what needs to be said here. Now, I make it no secret, as I said in the very beginning, I am not exactly the biggest fan of David Doel. It's not that his information is terrible for the most part, but I look at David Doel as basically a very, very, very boring Kyle Kalinske with a Canadian accent. That's what I think David Doel is. I mean, Kyle Kalinske do what he does real well, but David Doel live in Canada. I mean, honestly, there are problems in Canada. I mean, but you don't have the same kind of problems that Americans have. But and it's a good thing. I mean, more power to Canada for it. I wish the United States could be a little more like Canada in many ways. You even got a damn political party to claim your own, the New Democratic Party of Canada. Whereas here in the United States, we're stuck with the choices between dog shit and cat shit. We call that the two-party system. So enough of that. Nomiki Konst. All I gotta say is thank God I am not a shit-lib anymore, because Nomiki Konst, who claims to be a democratic socialist, she strikes me basically as a generic Democrat that just decided to jump on the Bernie Sanders bandwagon because it was cool and edgy. Grateful that she supported Bernie Sanders for whatever reason, but she strikes me as very insincere. Don't care for her. So, the thing about it is that David Doel brought up the valid point about Fox News and other right-wing media basically using the culture war issue as a distractor. And it seems like many Democrats fall for it, whether they're mainstream Democrats or even people like, especially people like AOC, who just runs toward culture war and creates a situation where she's actually being counterproductive these days. And that's the problem right there. It seems like whether you're a centrist Democrat or you're a left-wing Democrat affiliate with the squad, you don't fight your battles well with the right. I want the right defeated. I want the right crushed in their influence. And it seems like the liberal left in this country do not know how to adequately fight the right. And I mean, I'm not saying that I am the ultimate expert, but I can see for myself where they make a mistake and they take the bait every damn time. Well, both David Doel and Nomiki Konst justified the complaint about the algorithms discrimination. And I know about that because I have a very small channel myself. When I started this channel almost 2 years ago, in about 2 or 3 weeks, I have 40 subscribers, and now I only have a couple of hundred. And I think that back about a decade ago, I think that my channel, with the quality that has actually been somewhat enhanced in the last half a year or what have you, I think I would have probably had about a couple of thousand by now. I could be wrong. I mean, I don't think I'm all that bad of a channel. I mean, and there's a hell of a lot of people better than doing what I do. But, there are people that, whether they're on the left, the right, or whatever, that have a political channel, and their channels are not quite as good, and they got subscribers. Of course, they've been at it a little bit longer, maybe, or what have you. Who knows? But reaching out is the key, and all of that. The thing about it is that Nomiki Konst, she has a sour grapes mentality when it comes to things like Facebook favoring the right. And all that means that the left needs to do a better job in and spreading out our message. We have a very, very good message. In fact, I would say, as leftists, our ideas are better than that of the right. And I say that with absolute confidence. But the right's got the money and they got the influence. And because they got the money and influence, then we can't really get anything done because we're drowned out. And it's kind of ironic what she's going to say about rights of a company, because with Citizens United, what was it, 2011, 2010, the Supreme Court decision where basically they declare a corporation as a human being. We're seeing the repercussions of that damn decision. And I'm sure she was against that Supreme Court ruling, as most people should have been. But YouTube started out their platform made for ordinary people. And ordinary people were able to get a name for themselves in the early days. It was almost like the Wild West when it came to how you express yourself on YouTube. And over the years, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, and all the other mainstream media, the major networks, they decided, in my opinion, that they didn't like all these independent rebel rousers spreading the news. You know how I end this broadcast. I tell everybody, as a free speech absolutist, to create your own platform, because and utilize it, because we're all the muckrakers of our time, and I will be saying that again in a few minutes when I conclude. Well, the mainstream establishment do not like that at all, and so they're going to go and do whatever it takes to silence us, whether it's directly through censorship, like what's done against Combo Couch occasionally, what was done against Deep Fat Fried a few weeks ago, and you hear the Ben Shapiro's out there screaming, they're trying to silence us, they're trying to silence us, they're trying to silence us. When all I see is the left getting silenced, directly or indirectly. They either take down the channel or take down the content or demonetize. That is their strategy, to try to go and to stop the left. And so anyway, and David Doel talks about, engages in the Jimmy Dore bashing that, with the which is the popular thing to do right now. And he talks about people grifting. That is a grift if I ever saw one. When people spend their time talking about what's wrong with Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore this and Jimmy Dore that. And Jimmy Dore is an asshole. And Jimmy Dore is a Nazi. Jimmy Dore is a piece of shit. I hear this all every day. I have friends who despises Jimmy Dore. I have friends who think Jimmy Dore can do no wrong. And yeah, some of those friends who like Jimmy Dore, some of them are Trump supporters. I know. But you know what? If those Trump supporters can be convinced that Medicare for all is a good thing, and getting us out of these damn wars is a good thing, and Green New Deal is a good thing, then Jimmy Dore's basically done his job well. And, so, this whole thing, I'm so tired of hearing, grifter, Jimmy Dore's a grifter. You know what? Probably everybody to some degree has grifted in whatever way, what have you. I think it's an overused phrase right now. And Nomiki Konst talking about the fact, justifying a fact checkers, the Ministry of Truth, as other people call it, against misinformation. Who is to decide what's misinformation? Because with her mentality about justifying fact checkers, you know what would happen to my channel if I had this channel, YouTube, in 2002 saying, hey everybody, this war against Iraq is bullshit? I would probably have been shut down. You look at what happened in mainstream media. You look what happened to Jesse Ventura on MSNBC and Phil Donahue. They got fired for being opposed to the Iraq War. Schultz. Ed Schultz got fired for talking favorably about Bernie Sanders in 2015, 2016. So, this misinformation thing, is there a lot of false information out there? Absolutely. I don't like the fact there's false information out there. But you know what? Just because there's false information out there doesn't mean that you have to shut it down, because there's a time when you'll have a changing of the guard. When it's, instead of dementia Joe Biden, and silly Kamala Harris up there, you could get someone like Donald Trump coming back in. And let me tell you, Donald Trump is overtly anti-free speech. I mean, he wanted to go and sue Bill Maher for telling a joke about Donald Trump looking like an orange orangutan. And he wants to harmonize the libel laws with Great Britain, whereas, a small content maker could get sued by a powerful politician because a powerful politician has his feelings hurt, And thing about it is that it's a damn slippery slope. And the thing about Nomiki Konst sitting there criticizing Joe Rogan. Now, I am mixed on Joe Rogan. I mean, Joe Rogan is not as edgy. His show's not as edgy as it used to be. And that's a damn shame. But, at the same time, I do not think he's a rabbit hole to the alt-right or what have you. In fact, in my opinion, I don't think he really believes in anything. I think it was Nick Cruz from, I believe the show's called Revolutionary Blackout. It used to be called Fred Hampton LEFTISTS. And I agree what he said about Joe Rogan. And that Joe Rogan, if he's sitting there having a discussion with a Steven Crowder or a Ben Shapiro or what's the name of that congressman with the eye patch? Dan Kershaw, I believe his name. He would put on his MAGA hat and sound like a Trump cocksucker. If Kyle Kalinske or Jimmy Dore or Cornel West is on the show, all of a sudden, Joe Rogan will sound like a Democratic socialist. So, I mean, and I'm not sitting there, trying to criticize Joe Rogan for saying this. I mean, he's just trying to be chill, have a conversation with people and keep it as pleasant as it can be. And I certainly respect him more than I do the late night talk shows on mainstream TV that, the only thing they can talk about is just absolute junk. I call it the Fox and Friends and The View for the evening late night crowd. Enough of that. Absolutely. But David Doel talks about the new square, the town square, and that the internet is not the new town square. The hell it isn't. And here's the thing about David Doel, and I criticize him, but the reason I can maybe just excuse him slightly more than I could Nomiki Konst is because he's Canadian. Canada is not as pro-free speech in their society as the United States. I'm not saying the United States is pro-free speech, but we are supposed to be, in theory, in paper. There's more censorship in Canada. And one of the things I don't like about Canada is their free speech laws and their censorship. I wish that that Canada could be a little more like the United States. One of the few areas where other countries could be a little more like the United States. And even the United States need to be for free speech and actually expand the First Amendment. And this whole notion that Nomiki Konst goes with about, the right of the content maker and the terms of agreement. Bullshit. Because I'm going to tell you, that's basically declaring a corporation as a person. And if she's going to sit there and defend a corporation silencing people, I don't want to ever hear her talk about union organizing then, because she will obviously in that mindset, and she want to take it to an extreme conclusion. A company can fire somebody for trying to organize a union in the workplace, and she'll be okay with that. Or even going online and saying, hey, I like unions. And somebody be like, hey, that person online from work said he likes unions. We can go and fire them. That's why I don't tell people where I work at right now for the time being, because I'm in a non-union environment, unlike the previous job I had. And the thing about it is that I want to keep it that way until I change jobs. And when I do change jobs, I got some laundry to actually dump about the previous company I work for that's owned by the company I work at currently. But anyhow, anyway, that's basically what I have to say. I had to get that out of my chest. So, and I got some stuff to do this morning, but here I see a chat line, which that makes me feel good. So, and it's a very busy one at that. Steve Richard, how the hell are you? A radical leftist agenda, how the hell are you? Good morning. Les Bones, good morning. How the hell are you too? Let's see here. Nomiki and Dildo. Absolutely correct. Yeah, that's yeah. You're right. A radical leftist agenda. Let's see here. The right. I know the way they talk about that. And see, I love it when privileged folks try to tell me what's best for me. Isn't that the truth? Did he say potato man? A big potato man. It's like 5 a.m. here, so I could just. I don't know. I mean, I know the reference. David Doel. I'm sorry, David Doel was trying to make about Potato Head and all of that. Let's see, cry about suppression while preaching censorship. Isn't that the truth? Let's see. Facebook's always censors the right on Facebook that I saw. And that is actually correct. There's the Facebook tries to do the even-handed thing by basically banning Louis Farrakhan and David Duke and banning Antifa and banning QAnon, But here's the thing. Don't ban any of it. That's what I have to say. Don't ban any of it. Let the ideas flow. The free market of ideas. Let it flow. Absolutely. This is what caffeine looks like. Yeah, I had a lot of coffee this morning. Good morning, Linda. Let's see here. All right. Let's see. Shocking anti-mandate. Yep. Yeah, I am pro-vaccine, but I'm also civil libertarian when it comes to the rights of people, whether to take the vaccine or not, and that is my position, and I'm somehow criticized seemingly by all sides on that issue. I'm just so misunderstood. Let's see here. That was a bad take about Kim, by the way. Now, I don't agree with Kim Iverson on every issue, but she's very interesting to listen to just the same. Let's see. They want to censor Jimmy Dore and Alex Jones, but then act surprised when it happens to them. Absolutely. And the thing about it is that I actually miss Alex Jones, not his ideology, but I miss the gay frogs. I miss that. I miss it a great deal. My gosh. Let's see. Let's see what we got here. The insults are so lame. Yes, they are. Bringing up logic raid, the Willie show, nice. Well, I mean, it's a point trying to be made here. Let's see. We got. Let's see here. Thank you, radical leftist agenda. I'm glad you did. That means a lot to me. The Willie Braggart Show. Hot retarded chicks. Good morning. How are you? Dirtbag leftists hating the dirtbag leftists. Oh, well, yeah, well, I mean, not all people going to agree on things, but a grifter overuse almost meaningless. Absolutely, very much so. Let's see here. And I agree with you, hot retarded chicks. Stop banning shit. And that goes across the board. The left needs to stop censoring the right. The right needs to stop censoring the left. And the authoritarian center also needs to stop banning everybody. Everybody needs to stop banning everybody. And everybody just let your ideas flow and let it flow as much as you can. And let the best ideas win, which will be the left, of course. So, because you think about it is, and I'm going to conclude by saying this, that I'm so confident as a leftist. I am so confident in what I believe in that I just I'm not worried about people shooting down my ideas. And that's the thing right there. I mean, I'm not worried about it. Will I get defeated in a debate occasionally? Yeah, sure, And there are times I won't. And that there's nothing about, it's not because my ideas are flawed or what have you. It's just a fact of life. I mean, somebody's going to always, quote unquote, own another person, regardless of which person is owning on what side of the team or the other. But anyway, If you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree with what I have to say, that's okay. Comment anyway. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you, to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Also, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And until next time, I am Willie Bragg, host of the Willie Bragg Show. Please come back again, and we will discuss politics once more. And I shall go. Take care.